There was a piece in Politico today, and that basically says, and I think I don't often do this, but I have to say that I am really been self-congratulatory about my Trump predictions. So I went back to see what we had done in terms of like videos. And I know I had said some stuff on Hayes' show that first day because I was on his program to sort of mock his, to mock the announcement that Trump gave. And it was because basically this piece in Politico, this is not the race Jeb Bush expected to run. He expected to run joyfully and with a measured message of optimism. So much for that. It's yet another measure of how Trump has rewired the race in 3 short months since he announced his campaign. It's hard to overstate this effect or even find a historical analog with his outsized personality and outsider message. Trump has sent his GOP rivals careening in directions they couldn't imagine, forced them to rethink their strategies and tactics and altered expectations about the duration of the primary season. He's even managed to unsettle the politically active billionaires who are sizing up the contest. And this is exactly what I believe was so predictable and I predicted at the time Trump would do. And they're not quite there yet. Because the obvious question is like, why? Why has he been able to do this? It is because they have created a Republican base that will respond to this. And the only people it has yet to reach Politico, it has not permeated their brains yet. It has not permeated the conventional wisdom. But weirdly, and maybe not so weirdly, the place that it's beginning to be recognized is with the other lunatics in the Republican Party who are on the wrong side of this. I have said over and over again, to the extent that there's any difference between the Tea Party and the establishment in the Republican Party, these are just 2 businesses in the same industry. One is Coke, one is Pepsi. And they're just fighting it out. They're both ideologically lunatic. They're lunatics. And so when Jonah Goldberg, who rose to prominence because his mom, Lucienne Goldberg, I believe she was published of Regency Press or one of these right-wing outlets. And she rose to prominence because she's the one who convinced Monica Lewinsky to wear a wire. Or get Linda Tripp, I should say, to get Monica Lewinsky to wear a wire, essentially, or to record her calls. Lucienne Goldberg was the sort of the driver behind all that. And Jonah Goldberg, who wrote Fascism is Liberalism, Liberalism is Fascism. I mean, this guy pioneered making a career out of just writing stuff that made conservatives feel good about themselves because he felt so bad about himself. He would just sort of pump himself up in the same way, and that would have the same effect. In other words, he was training the conservative base to believe that pissing off liberals was actually was actually like a policy position. In fact, in his piece, where he laments that the conservative movement has moved away from him because it is lying down at the feet of Donald Trump, he writes this: if this is the conservative movement now, I guess you're going to have to count me out. It's true that politicians can disappoint, but I think one has to say that people can too. And when I say the people, I don't mean those people. I mean my people. I mean many of you, dear readers. It's not the low information voters that I'm talking about or the folks we laughed at when Jay Leno interviewed them on the street. But we don't just mean the unwashed and the ill-informed. We sometimes mean Jews, blacks, college kids, Lena Dunham fans, and countless other partisan slices of the electorate who reflexively vote on strict party lines for emotional or irrational reasons. Ladies and gentlemen, that sentence right there is exactly what Donald Trump's appeal is built upon. The fact that Jonah Goldberg would just randomly and almost as a non sequitur stick it in the eye of these sort of cultural libs. Lena Dunham. Let's get a shot in on Lena Dunham as if she was important to some broader policy prescription. That is what the essence of Donald Trump is. That is why at the end of the debate, he turns to Jeb Bush and says, yeah, well, everything you've done is all well and good, but I don't have time to be politically correct. That's all he's saying is that I'm willing to crap on Rosie O'Donnell. And so Jonah Goldberg, in the midst of his grand lament that conservatives have given up their principles to support Donald Trump, establishes his bona fides. His entire premise is built on the same dynamic. That all they do, that what they think their movement is about nothing except them and us. And the them are the blacks and the Jews and the Lena Dunhams. This is a parody he's writing. He doesn't even realize it. Yeah, I know that there are plenty of decent and honorable people who support Trump. For instance, my friend John Nolte over at Breitbart. Do you understand why? And I know we've got a minute of that video I did. What was the date of that video? June 18?
Yes.
Okay. I knew it was like a day or two right after Trump, right after I'd been on Hayes. And I said, they cannot criticize Trump because he is everything that he is their essence. and Jonah Goldberg can't either. When you have to say, I know there are decent and honorable people who support Trump, and the only one you can cite is John Nolte at Breitbart. Or I should say, that's the first one you cite. In the course of talking about Lena Dunham fans, as if they're like a political force. Like that's...
They're a huge voting bloc, Sam,
it's just, he can't criticize Trump because he's criticizing himself. And he doesn't have the self-awareness to do that. And that is why, apparently, when this piece gets out there, all of a sudden, the guys who have been out there saying that so-and-so is a rhino, so-and-so is a fake conservative, now they're the fake conservatives. Now they are the cuck-servatives. And now many of the people who are criticizing them are white nationalists. But can the guy who says, we don't just mean the unwashed and the ill-informed, we sometimes mean Jews, blacks, college kids, Lena Dunham fans, countless other partisan slices of the electorate. They're just partisan slices of the electorate, right? Yep. Like, as opposed to, let's say, whites and men, right? I mean, you know what he's saying when he says Lena Dunham fans, right? He's saying women. That's his way of saying women. So this guy's going to go out there and complain that the NRO, what's the hashtag that they're using? NRO revolt is just driven by white nationalists. And I'm no white nationalist. I just like to cite the fact that there are partisan slices of the electorate. Jews, blacks, college kids, women, and other ones. I mean, they don't even realize that Jonah Goldberg is looking in the mirror and criticizing himself. It's just he doesn't recognize it because he's dressed as a billionaire and he's not sort of fat and slobbering and, behind his keyboard. He's looking in the mirror. He just doesn't realize he's looking at himself.
Let's make a few things clear up top. Breitbart is a great journalistic outfit. I don't care for black people, but we have a problem here with Donald Trump.
It's just,
I don't want beaners in this country either. Woman, ooh, gross. But Donald Trump, he's just not classy. It's just full circle irony.
Exactly. He's not really classy. He's nouveau riche.
We're both trust fund kids, but my trust fund funding came from literary sources and political skullduggery, not real estate in Queens. Thank you very much.
Oh, you know what? What happened to that story I had? I'll have to do it tomorrow. About Trump. Where did all the stories I have that you're supposed to give me come from? Where did they go? There was a story that I found where Trump could have made more money than the money he supposedly has now.
Oh, let me find that. I'll tell you later. It's National Journal stories are really bad when you print them.
There was a story, it's a great story, of he could have more money now had he done nothing except for just invest in an index fund, the money his dad gave him. Now, with that said, he wouldn't have been able to run for president, right? Because he wouldn't have had a career. He would have had a much more interesting career. But that's just sort of, I thought, a funny. All right. Well, so much for the
Do you want to play that quick? Since we're already going long, anyways, do you want to play Trump and you it before we go to the fun half? Or
sure.
All right, and just wrap.
No, let's say.
Okay.
All right. Play the clip. Play the 1 minute clip, but go and we should maybe DYA the Trump clip today, just because we're in like the new stage of the campaign. Because it got a bunch of hits, but I'm sorry, this was so predictable. I do accept that I have a decent amount of insight into things, but this was just so predictable. It's just that people don't, for the vast majority of commentators on television, and let's face it, we are rapidly heading into a situation where the media landscape is going to be very much what it was like in 2004. With all due respect, I wasn't a huge fan of Al Sharpton's television program. But now you have Joe Scarborough's show is on for 4 hours a day. And almost all of MSNBC is headed to basically where they were in 2004. Two or three shows at night. 3, I guess. In their primetime lineup, but who knows? And the mainstream media, for the most part, cannot actually see what the Republican Party has become. They are completely allergic to addressing this. And when we talk about this stuff, I know some people get annoyed. This is not about. And I think people in our program are very well versed in what's happening with Bernie's campaign and on the Democratic side. And there's going to be plenty of time to talk about that. But this stuff is important for us to understand because in the coming weeks, we're going to see an attempt to shut down the government over Planned Parenthood funding. We are in a full-on defensive mode because this is when the wackos get even more crazy. John Boehner now is, it's looking like he may lose his speakership. And so he's going to go full wacko. So we're going to see the government shut down. The point is, whomever ends up being the Democratic nominee in the fall, and it's still, I think, very much up in the air. And I'm pretty convinced it's not going to be Lawrence Lessig. Regardless of who it is, the question is like, how much can Donald Trump hurt the Republican Party? I don't mean just lose the presidential election, because I think that's going to happen, frankly, no matter who the nominee is. And frankly, no matter who the nominee is on both sides. Hillary or Bernie, I think would beat every Republican. Even Mitt when he jumps in.
You think he's going to do it still?
I don't know if he's going to.
If he did, though, oh my
I'll tell you
God, you would
something.
be on a...
I mean, if you're Mitt Romney right now, honestly, right? Like, there's a pool of saliva that's just like sitting there going, every day he just sees whatever somebody's. And look,
It's finally time.
listen, there's 17 teams of campaign workers working, right? As soon as one or two or three drop out, they want to get back into the game. This is somebody, there are people who are running to Mitt Romney right now saying, Mitt, you should do this.
I might be able to even win this without being a Mexican or a Negro this time. It's wide open. And everybody hates Hillary because she's a woman.
If only I was a woman, I could have definitely won this one.
Imagine if I was a woman Puerto Rican. They would have amended the Constitution. I'd be serving my third term now. But I might just need to jump in. Tag, tick, tock, whatever. Trust funds are getting depleted. Dad's jumping back in. Learn how to run a business, losers.
Strap the dog on top of the car. We're going to D.C.
We're going back into campaign mode.
But the point is that this is going to have big policy impacts down the road.
I heard that Donald Trump has an illegitimate black child. Where did you hear that? See, that's the way rumors get spread. Playing hardball this time. No more messing around.